I froze in the hallway a week before Christmas, the hallway with the crooked family photo and the faint scent of cinnamon broomsticks Mom buys every December, and I heard her laugh. Not the soft, humming one she used when I was little, but the bright, brittle kind that lays out a plan and expects the world to obey. Madison can just take the kids upstairs, she said, voice ricocheting down the stairs like a metal ornament slipping off a branch. We'll set up the back bedroom with movies and games so the adults can relax. Adults meaning everyone but me. I stood there with my coat half off, fingers hooked in the red scarf my grandmother left me, and I felt that old tug under my ribs, the one that says you're about to be useful instead of loved. I didn't speak. I didn't clear my throat. I just breathed in, slow, and smiled to myself. Not the kind of smile they recognize. The kind that means, you have no idea what's coming. / I'm Madison Wilson, 28, a data analyst who knows how to make chaos tell the truth in a spreadsheet. I rent a one-bedroom in a mid-rise just outside Chicago, a view of the Blue Line and a coffee shop that knows my order before I do. On paper, I look like someone who's got it figured out. Decent salary. A 401k with a pulse. The kind of health insurance that lets me go to the dentist without bargaining with God. I can treat myself to ramen on Wednesdays and even indulge in the expensive olive oil that makes everything taste like I tried. People at work call me a steady, solid, the one who's got it together. They don't see the part of my life that twists my stomach every Saturday morning around 9 a.m., when my doorbell rings in 3 fast taps, Laura's rhythm, and I open the door in pajama bottoms, barefaced, half a cup of coffee into being a person, and the kids tumble in like joy grenades with backpacks and sugar breath and YouTube volume levels set to stun. Ethan, 9. Chloe, 7. My sister Laura smiles, too bright, too rehearsed, too practiced, and says, "You're the best, Mads. We need time together. You get it." Kiss kiss, door shut, silence. Then 12 hours later, or 10, or 14, she comes back glowing, hair smooth, nails new, resentment non-existent, and I'm in a living room booby-trapped with Legos while 2 overtired kids fight over a remote that's somehow never where it should be. The first few times, I told myself it was love. Family, and love, and duty, and that complicated mess people wrap in twinkle lights every December. After the 10th Saturday, it felt like a habit they didn't intend to break. After the 20th, it felt like a system. After the 30th, it felt like a job without pay or boundaries. And I was the only one who didn't realize I'd been hired. Correction, they realized it. They just didn't care, / I tried to say no once. Practiced it during my commute, no, 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 like a new language you think you understand until somebody answers you back at speed. I called Laura on a Sunday morning, hands shaking even though I was alone at my kitchen table. "Could we rotate?" I asked. "Could Mom or Dad take one Saturday a month? I'm exhausted. I want to date. Or read a book without pictures. Or just hear my own thoughts." She waited so long I thought the call dropped. Then her voice came back coated in that soft, feigned disappointment that slices deeper than a shout. "Wow, Madison. Selfish much? We work all week. We barely get time together. You don't have kids. You don't have a husband. What exactly are you doing on Saturdays that matters more than your family?" Breathing. I tried to explain. I tried to talk about exhaustion that doesn't show on your face because you've trained it not to. She didn't hear me. You're basically their second mom, she said, like a compliment. They adore you. And there it was, the hook. Love as a leash. When I hung up, my hands shook with rage and shame and a story I hadn't learned how to end. /////. So I took it to Sunday dinner at my parents' house, because we are the kind of family that thinks roast chicken with thyme solves everything if we stare at the mashed potatoes long enough. Dad carved like the knife was an opinion. Mom's table runner looked like Pinterest went to finishing school. The house smelled like the late afternoon sunlight that only exists in memory. I love spending time with Ethan and Chloe, I said, fork pushing peas around like I could make a pattern from the mess, but every Saturday is a lot. Maybe we could make a schedule so I get time off. Dad didn't look up. Madison, those children are family. You help family. Mom set her fork down, delicately, deliberately, and gave me the look that turns me into the worst version of 13-year-old me. Honey, I raised you better than this. Laura works hard. She deserves time with Mark. You're single. You don't have responsibilities like she does. Honestly, taking care of Ethan and Chloe is the best preparation you could ask for. When you get married and have children, you'll be grateful for all this experience. I almost laughed. Grateful for practicing exhaustion. Laura smirked. You can date Friday night or Sunday night. Your friends can hang with the kids. It's not that complicated, Mads. Dad nodded. Your sister's right. Inside my chest, something bent that I'd kept straight for years. Outside, I smiled like the good daughter and complimented the gravy. Driving home in the rain, the wipers thudding time, I remembered a Christmas when I was 16, Laura 22, newly married, when I was told I'd be staying with 4 screaming toddlers so the adults could drink mulled wine by the fireplace. That was the first time I felt invisible. 16 years later, the tradition had become a lifestyle. ////. December rolled in with wet sidewalks and pine-scented air and little white lights that make every street look like a promise. The first week, Mom called me at work, voice sing-song and smooth like nothing had ever been wrong in our house. Hi, sweetheart, she said. About Christmas. My shoulders tensed like she'd tugged an invisible string. We're going big this year. Your Aunt Carol and her 3. Uncle Mike and Aunt Sarah with their 2. Mark's parents, and his brother's family. About 25 people total. That's a lot, I said, eyes still scanning cells as if the answers to this conversation might be hiding in column F. What can I bring? She paused, just long enough to season the moment. I can't cook for that many. I was hoping you could handle the food, maybe order catering from a nice place. You're doing so well at your job. The rest of us are struggling a bit right now. That last sentence was a snow globe, shake it and guilt filled the air. How much? Oh, 2,000? Maybe a little more. But it'll be so special, Madison. No stress for me. I stared at the spreadsheet until the numbers blurred. $2,000, my Lake Tahoe trip with Jess that I'd promised myself since July. Okay, Mom, I said softly. I'll handle it. You're such a good daughter, she cooed. I'll send everyone's favorites. After the call, I lowered my forehead to my desk and breathed in the paper smell of resignation. I told myself it was one night, ////. A week later Romano's called to say the honey-glazed ham was out. Small problem. I didn't want to choose without checking, so I called Mom. Straight to voicemail. Dad, voicemail. Laura, voicemail. All three at once felt like a chord someone played on purpose. That evening I drove to my parents' place through streets blinking red and green and white, snow crusting like sugar along the curb. I let myself in. Keys still worked, muscle memory still faithful, and the smell of pot roast welcomed me like a storybook I didn't believe in anymore. Then I heard the landline. Yes, we still have one. Because, when phones die in a snowstorm, Mom says. Her voice carried, practiced bright. Oh, Carol, it's perfect. Madison will be watching all the kids. Don't bother with activities, we'll set up the back bedroom with movies and games, and she can stay upstairs while the adults enjoy ourselves downstairs. My body went cold so fast it felt like a trick of the light. 9 kids. Maybe 10. Me upstairs. Them laughing. The word perfect unpacked itself and showed me a cage. Mom's voice dropped, kind and cruel at once. Madison doesn't have kids, so she isn't tired like we are. She does Saturdays anyway. What's a few more for one night? The red scarf burned against my throat like permission. Don't let anyone turn you into their shadow, Grandma's voice, warm and firm. The line clicked, footsteps came closer. I stepped into the kitchen and asked about ham versus turkey like this was the same life as 5 minutes ago. Her smile overperformed. Her eyes told the truth. Whatever you think, sweetheart. I nodded like I couldn't hear the pieces falling into place. Drove home without turning the radio on. Sat in my parking spot long enough to watch a neighbor in a puffy coat walk their dog in a circle that looked like patience. Then I went upstairs and dialed Romano's and canceled the order. We can only refund about half, the woman said gently. That's fine, I said. Cancel it. My chest felt heavy and light at once, like I dropped something I should never have been carrying. Then I scrolled to another name. Jess. // Jessica and I met freshman year at DePaul. She lived 2 doors down, drank her coffee black, and laughed like she'd never been punished for joy. She moved to Denver 3 summers ago and invited me to her family's cabin in the Rockies every December. And every December I said the same 2 words that sounded like love and tasted like loss, can't. Family. I called her now. Is the invite still open? Tell me you're serious, she said. I am. Drive out on the 23rd. We're heading up that afternoon. When we hung up, I leaned back against my couch and felt something old rearrange itself inside me, like books finally shelved where they belong. I packed that night in a quiet that felt like church. Folded sweaters. Long underwear. Thick socks. A paperback. The red scarf. My apartment looked different in the dark, like a place that belonged to someone who made choices on purpose. // December 23rd cracked the air in that way only Midwestern cold can, the kind that pinches your cheeks before you step outside. I left work early, slid my suitcase into my trunk, and pointed my car west. Holiday traffic swelled like a choir, horns, SUVs, brake lights, and then thinned into long, open miles that felt like exhaling. Indiana, then Illinois in my rear view. Nebraska into Colorado, the sky turning that pale winter blue that makes you ache a little. Jess's parents, Mike and Carol, welcomed me like they had been saving the exact shape of me for that moment. We played scattergories until midnight. Laughed across a kitchen table with a bowl of clementines and a candle that smelled like clove. The next morning, we loaded their SUV and headed into the mountains. The cabin sat among snow-draped pines like something a child would draw if you asked them to imagine the word cozy. Smoke curled from the chimney. Inside, quilts were stacked, mugs warmed in the oven, and a pinecone wreath hung crooked on purpose. For the first time in years, Christmas looked like a thing I could belong to. And not the kind with a job assignment, /////. At 3 p.m. on Christmas Eve, my phone lit up with a mom. Jess raised an eyebrow. Showtime? And I nodded, pulse calm but loud. Where are you? Mom's voice sliced. Everyone's here. The food was supposed to arrive an hour ago. I watched a log shift in the fireplace and send up a spray of sparks like punctuation. I'm not coming, I said. Silence like a room holding its breath. Then, don't be ridiculous. Get over here right now. I spoke to the floor first and then to her. I heard you on the landline last week, Mom. I heard the plan. Meet upstairs with the kids while the adults enjoy Christmas. The background erupted. Laura's voice cut in, sharp. Dad's voice boomed. Then Laura herself, you were supposed to watch them. We planned the whole evening so we could relax for once. I let out a laugh I didn't recognize, clean, sharp, necessary. That's the problem. And don't wait for the catering. I cancelled it. The words detonated on the other end, selfish, you don't understand, you'll ruin everything. I understand, I said quietly. I just won't play that role anymore. I hung up. Set the phone face down by the window. Jess slid a mug of cocoa into my hands. You okay? Better than okay, I said. I think. I'm free. The word tasted like the first orange of the season, ////. Christmas morning, my phone woke up to 43 missed calls and 27 texts. Mom, call me back immediately. Where are you? This is unacceptable. Then worse, you are cruel and selfish. You ruined Christmas. Laura, we had to scramble for food. The kids are miserable. Mark, Laura's crying. The kids keep asking why there's no dinner. Dad, the house was chaos. Guests left early. Your fault. I read them in a cabin that smelled like cinnamon rolls and wood smoke, with laughter leaking from every room. Instead of guilt, I felt a laugh unspool, soft, almost surprised, because the picture of my family chasing 9 screaming kids while Aunt Carol judged them from the sofa looked a lot like fairness. I put the phone down and stepped outside. The world was white and quiet and honest. I stood there until my breath stopped looking like steam and started looking like proof. /////. 4 days later, December 29th, a knock hit my apartment door so hard the frame answered back. Through the peephole, Mom's mouth a straight line. Dad carved from something that doesn't break easily. Laura flushed red that wasn't from the cold. I opened the door and stepped aside. Mom swept in like she'd built the place. Dad shut the door, shadows shifted as the winter light dulled. We need to talk, Dad said, clipped. Okay, I said, setting my coffee down in the sink, my hands suddenly very still. Mom's eyes were rimmed red. The tears were real now, and for a second my lungs forgot their job. How could you do this to us? She demanded. 25 people sat down expecting dinner and we had nothing. We looked like fools, Dad added. Laura leaned forward like an accusation. Mark's parents think we're disorganized. His mother kept asking why we didn't have a backup plan. Mom threw up her hands. The children were screaming, the house was a disaster, we had to microwave things. I let a small, bitter laugh escape. Wow. That sounds exhausting, having to watch your own children on a holiday. Dad's voice snapped like a rule. Don't be smart. You know exactly what you did. I straightened until the red scarf on the back of my chair brushed my wrist like a benediction. Yes, I said. I refuse to be your unpaid caterer and babysitter. I chose myself. You're our daughter, Mom cried, tears spilling now, genuine and weaponized all at once. You're supposed to help family. What you wanted wasn't help, I said softly. You wanted me to pay for everyone's dinner and then spend the night upstairs with 10 children while you partied. That isn't help. That's use. Laura's words cracked like a whip. We work hard. We deserve to relax. So do I said, and the room went very, very still, like a bridge pausing mid-lift. You don't have children, she shot back. You don't understand how hard it is. I felt the scarf's wool under my thumb, remembered my grandmother's voice, don't let anyone turn you into their shadow, and I let the softness be steel. You're right. I don't have kids. Which is exactly why my Christmas isn't about raising yours. Mom's face hardened to glass. Because of you, we will never live this down with our relatives. Do you understand what you did to us? I looked at all three of them and realized. I didn't care. You know what? I don't care that your Christmas was ruined. I don't care that the guests left early. I don't care that you were embarrassed. You've been using me for years. Every Saturday, Laura drops her kids off. Every holiday, you expect me to pay, to cook, to babysit. Not once did you ask me what I wanted. Dad's jaw clicked. We're your family. Family doesn't manipulate. Family also doesn't laugh on the phone about turning one of their own into free childcare, I said, and watched the truth land. Silence stretched. The fridge hummed. Somewhere downstairs a dog barked like a punchline. Then Mom straightened, voice ice. Fine. If that's how you feel, we're done. No more invitations. No more holidays. You can be alone. Good, I said, and it was the cleanest word I'd spoken all year. They blinked like I'd gotten the line wrong. You'll regret this, Mom whispered. The only thing I regret is not standing up for myself sooner, I said. Dad pointed at the door. Let's go. She's made her choice. They marched out. Mom turned in the doorway one last time, fury and sorrow rearranged on her face like a mask that couldn't decide which play it belonged in. Don't come crying to us when you realize what you've lost. I won't, I said, and I meant it in a way my bones recognized. The door shut. The echo hung in the air, then thinned, then let the room become mine again. I stood still for 10 minutes, palm over the scarf, until the shaking drained out through my heels. Then I blocked their numbers. It felt like taking off a coat you forgot was wet. /////. Here's what nobody tells you about peace. At first, it's unnerving. The Saturday after the standoff, I woke up at 8:57 and braced, then remembered nothing was coming. No tap tap tap. No backpacks. No 1001 questions about snacks versus actual food. The silence felt like when power goes out and the house reveals how many machines are always humming. I made pancakes for one. I ate them hot, with butter melting into rivers and syrup mapping a country I decided to live in. I took a long walk to the farmer's market under a sky the precise color of a bruise that's healing. A violinist played on the corner and a toddler danced like the future was an easy promise. I bought flowers. For myself. No occasion beyond breath, //////. A few relatives reached out as word traveled the way gossip likes to travel, fast, self-righteous, sure. My aunt called to say Mom was heartbroken, that I'd gone too far. A cousin texted, just apologize. You know how she is. That sentence used to own me, 3 words that turn someone else's behavior into your responsibility. I wrote the line I'd promised myself I'd write, when they're ready to admit they used me, I'm ready to talk. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was clean. /////. And then there was Daniel. We met at a friend's birthday in January. He was the kind of man who listens the first time and remembers. He worked as a physical therapist, which meant he believed in healing slowly and on purpose. We started with Tuesday dinners and late walks through the West Loop's converted warehouses, under string lights that made everything look like it could be forgiven. He told me about his mom, how she apologized when she got it wrong. The first time he said that, I stared at him like he'd told me the ocean had stairs. We talked about boundaries like they were fences you paint white in the spring, something you care for because it says, this is where I start. He asked about the red scarf and I told him about my grandmother, Christmas fudge, a laugh that shook the windows, hands always busy, eyes always kind. Don't let anyone turn you into their shadow, she'd whisper when she tucked me in under blankets that smelled like line-dried sun. He touched the wool and said, she sounds like somebody who would have liked you exactly as you are. I believed him. I wanted to, /////. Healing wasn't a montage. It was Saturday mornings where I flinched at 9 o'clock and then didn't. It was the first time I said, no, I can't do that to a coworker who loved delegating upward, and the way my voice didn't shake. It was looking at a calendar where every square didn't belong to someone else. It was buying a tiny artificial tree on clearance in January and storing it in my closet with the intention to decorate it next December exactly the way I want, with popcorn strings and mismatched ornaments that look like they argued and then danced. It was passing a playground on my walk home and feeling love for Ethan and Chloe swell, real love, not the heavy kind, and realizing loving them doesn't mean martyring myself. It was sitting in a cafe and writing a list of the things I thought made me good, then crossing out all the ones that were just about being useful. /////. 2 months later, an unknown number texted, we need to talk. Mom. My fork hovered over dinner. Old habits tugged, apologize, smooth, surrender. I looked at the scarf, the way red eats light and gives it back warmer. I didn't reply. Not that night. Maybe not for a while. Because here is the truth I finally stitched into myself with a thread nobody else gets to cut. Family isn't a place where one person's life is the ticket everyone else uses. Family is a table where everyone brings a plate and everyone helps clean up, where no one is volunteered without being asked. If they want me at that table, they'll have to notice I'm a person. Until then, I'm building a life that fits the silhouette of who I've always been when no one was looking. /////. Mini hook. Because maybe you need one the way I did, if you are the driver, the payer, the planner, the spontaneous babysitter, the you don't have kids yet so your time is free person, if you are the older sister who learned to be useful as a survival strategy, or the younger sister who learned to be responsible because someone had to, if you are the peacekeeper whose peace has gone missing, if you have a red scarf, literal or otherwise, that you squeeze in your fist when you're about to say something that will rearrange your life, this is me telling you, you're allowed to cancel the thing. You're allowed to spend the money on your own warmth. You're allowed to let the phone ring out. You're allowed to be the main character in your own December. The people who love you will still love you. The ones who only loved what you did. They'll learn, or they won't. Either way, you'll be free. /////. I used to think boundaries were walls, high, cold, a dare to anyone who walked near. Turns out they're doors with locks I control. They make rooms cozier because I chose who's in them. Next Christmas I want a small treat in my apartment, friends squeezed onto the couch with paper plates, potluck chaos in the kitchen, mismatched mugs sweating hot chocolate on thrift store coasters. If kids are there, we'll put on a movie for them in the bedroom and take turns being the adult in the room, because that's what adults do when love is a verb. I want music low enough for conversation. I want somebody to spill and nobody to panic. I want to end the night with a sink full of dishes and a warm ache in my feet, the kind that says I lived my life today. Daniel says we can do it. He says he'll bring his grandma's gingerbread and the story of how she burned the first batch every year and ate the broken one standing up in the kitchen. I want those stories. I want to make new ones. I want to look up at the cheap string lights I bought myself and feel the quiet hum of this truth: I didn't ruin Christmas. I rescued my own. ////. Sometimes I still think about the Christmas when I was 16, the one where the adults drank mulled wine and I learned how heavy an hour can be when every minute belongs to someone else. I remember the way the tree lights were the only bright thing in a room that smelled like negotiation. I remember counting down until midnight, like maybe the clock would set me free. This year, in the cabin, I stood in the doorway while snow fell, and I counted forward, 12 deep breaths, then stepped into a morning where the only thing on my to-do list was be. Maybe that sounds small. It felt like a revolution. ////. The last time I saw Ethan and Chloe before I blocked numbers, Chloe put a sticker on my cheek, sparkly, shaped like a star, and said, "You're shiny, Aunt Maddie." I peeled it off and stuck it to my phone case. It stayed through 3 cases. I love them. Nothing about choosing myself erases that sentence. If anything, it makes space for the love to be love, not labor dressed up as devotion. When they're older and can text me on their own, I will answer. I will be the aunt who shows up for science fairs and soccer games and the quiet in-between days where somebody just needs an adult who listens. I will not be the infrastructure that props up other people's entitlement. There's a difference. I can feel it. It feels like a breath that reaches the bottom of my lungs. ////. And yes, I know some stories end with reconciliations under twinkle lights, apologies so perfect they sound like scripts. Maybe mine will get there someday. Maybe Mom will call and say the words her mother never taught her, "I'm sorry." Maybe Laura will stare at 2 dishes in a sink and understand she's not the only one who gets to be tired. Maybe Dad will look up from his plate and say, "You're right." Or maybe they won't. Maybe the lesson lives on my side of the line, that love built on obligation is a house with a hidden draft, and once you find where it's coming from, you don't pretend you don't feel the cold. You fix it. Or you move. I did the latter. You can, too. ////. If you're still here, listening, thank you. I know you've got your own version, your own hallway where you overheard a plan that wrote you into a part you didn't audition for, your own December where you smiled like you weren't breaking, your own red scarf, your own cabin, your own text that said we need to talk. Maybe tonight is the night you don't answer it. Maybe tonight is the night you rewrite what your silence means. Spoiler, it can mean you love yourself enough to stop bleeding for people who won't stop asking. Breathe. Put your phone face down. Look at the lights, street lights, tree lights, the microwave clock blinking 12 o'clock because you never said it, and let them be small, stubborn stars. The next chapter is yours. I'm writing mine with buttered pancakes, a Tuesday date, and a tree I'll decorate in socks with music too loud for the neighbors but not loud enough to drown out my thoughts. I'm writing it with friends who ask, "How are you, really?" and stick around for the answer. I'm writing it with a door that locks from the inside and opens to the knock of people who learned my name is not help. I'm writing it with a red scarf that isn't an emergency rope anymore, just warmth, just memory, just me. /////. Thank you for listening to my story. It means the world to share it with you. If it moved you, please give this video a like and hit that subscribe button. It helps me keep telling stories like this one. Stay strong and I'll see you in the next one.